Welcome to the LaunchPad, where ideas lift off, but only if they're good. From self-driving cars to protein bars, 16 aspiring entrepreneurs are looking to win a spot at the final pitch day. That's where they'll have the opportunities to present their ideas in front of a live audience to attract investments and maybe even win a cash prize. But before all that, they must face our 3 experienced industry experts. Will these budding entrepreneurs impress with their pitch, or will they crumble under pressure? Stepping out onto the LaunchPad is James from Ubiqueus, with a fit-in-your-pocket solution to monitoring your environment.
When I first started, I was working in the casino in Halifax, Sheraton Casino in Casino, Nova Scotia. I was a frontline employee working in the cash desk and in the slot department. That's where I first started getting into electronics a little bit, just doing minor repairs to slot machines and stuff. But that brought me to cruise ships, which I spent 4 years in the cruise ship industry, which I was fortunate enough to meet a nice woman from Ontario. She was working in the kids department on the ship, and that's what eventually brought me here to Ontario, is because my now wife Monica was from Ontario, and so we, after cruise ships, we settled here in Ontario. What I've learned in Ontario, and what's great about Ontario, is the ecosystem of entrepreneurship, especially here in York Region and in Toronto. And sometimes York Region kind of gets overlooked as an entrepreneurial hub. But when I started the journey, I went to the Small Business Center here in Newmarket, and they directed me to some people, some mentors that have done it before me. And through those connections, started to meet people in Startup York, and through Venture Lab and OCE, and all of the key players in York Region that really build this ecosystem that I'm involved in now. Through this journey and everything, I was creating hardware electronics. That was the business that I was into, and I developed a product through the help with these startup groups and everything else, which was a tracking device for not losing valuable objects. Long story short, Cubic is a device that we created that tracks and monitors different objects or areas in your life. Where this came about, which I'll explain in a minute, is through the entrepreneur ecosystem here in York Region. I was able to meet different people, and one of them being a gentleman by the name of Sean Stevens, who is now my co-founder and a friend and mentor more than anything. Sean was telling me that he was so busy with his businesses that he was running. He always thought of different ideas on the hardware side of things, but one that he was thinking about was creating some kind of sensor or a device that could connect anything you want to the internet. And so we were at the local makerspace, New Make It, and he said, "Do you think it's possible to make this?" And I figured, you know what, with my hardware background and with him telling me about the software side of things from time to time, we could definitely make this. So Cubic eventually became to where our prototypes now are monitoring spaces in offices and at homes for temperature and motion and things like that. So what Cubic is, we made it small, we made it good looking and nice, where this little object here is connected to the internet. So it's sending data to the cloud, and through the app on my phone, I am then able to see that data and share the data. So what ended up happening is we made sensors for temperature, humidity, light, and movement, and we scattered it out. We went out to the public to see where people were interested, and when the feedback came back, we realized there was a big need in the aging place. Our aging population is where we could really go with this and help monitor people that are more vulnerable in our society. So what we've narrowed it down to is movement and temperature sensors, and it's for tracking the environment in all kinds of environments, but where we're really focusing our attention is on the aging population.
In my opinion, I think Cubic could be in every thing in the entire world. I think that the thing that's different about Cubic versus most other things, most people try and build devices like you want an internet-enabled chair, then you have to go buy a specific internet-enabled chair. If you want an internet-enabled fridge, you have to go buy a specific internet-enabled fridge. And that's expensive and means we have to replace everything. I want my grandmother's chair to be part of the internet. I want things that have existed for hundreds of years to be part of the internet. I think the really neat part about Cubic is it can make anything become part of the internet. And that's the genius part. So I think in the future, it means more and more and more things get attached to the internet, but they're done through the Cubic.
Right now, we're currently working with a pharmaceutical company in the GTA to monitor the tracking of their production of their the things that they make, the pharmaceutical company.
Right.
So from the manufacturing stage to where it gets to the shelf, it has to maintain certain temperatures. And as just the average person, we don't know that, but they're very diligent on what they do and everything else. So we're trying to work with them to see if we can come up with a solution to be able to monitor real-time data to say if temperature is changing on that aspect. You could also use it, like I say, around offices and in homes. Some of the people we were talking to are in the farming and the gardening area where we hope to build this out where we'll have attachments to measure moisture in the soil. There's one company, a vineyard that we were thinking about approaching because you can monitor the temperature in your vineyard or in your farm to be able to know certain crops at certain times. So there's all kinds of uses, but we wanted to start with baby steps. Focus on temperature and movement, focus with a need. The age in place is really something that is a big concern because we have an aging population. We all know it, it's rising every year. So I think if we start there, we perfect it and get the feedback from the consumer, and then we can expand from there.
Will this Internet of Things approach to monitoring the most vulnerable amongst us be a viable solution that our panel of experts will buy into?
You mentioned you've done some research already, and you just mentioned OCE. So I think it's great, exploring collaboration with academia and working with either a college or university in Ontario, and tapping into funding programs like Ontario Centres of Excellence. So that's exciting. Do you see that more as a near-term priority in order to get your technology closer to market, or is that something you would do in parallel with commercialization activities you're focusing on?
We're doing both, and I see that as immediate future as part of it. There's no reason why we can't branch out to two. That part of it is more on the research and developing to customize things for those commercial uses.
One thing is, these devices are great. Yeah. The challenge people are having now is, you got to change these batteries every 6 months or 1 year. Have you tested that part yet?
I think on average, you'll see most times it'll be 1 to 2 months for standard uses from what we're gathering of the use that people are going to use them for, is 1 to 2, maybe a bit longer months.
Right.
And then it's a recharge. So we put a rechargeable battery.
Have you reached out to CABA at all, the Automated Home and Building Association?
I haven't personally reached out. We've been reaching out to different places. We've been connecting to Venture Lab and just going through those processes. We're hoping to reach out to OCE very soon.
You might want to explore that.
I definitely will.
And become at least a part of that community. And that would provide you with some really valuable input from that segmented marketplace that is looking at intelligent homes.
I mean, you're trying to go directly to the consumers. Certainly the challenge, as you pointed out, it's like installing these things, connectivity of Wi-Fi. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Maybe your recommendation is try the B2B vertical specific. Let's say if it's agriculture that you want to focus, or pharma. So you can then not only validate your product, and you have a go-to-market strategy through their business. And then once that works, then certainly you can go to other vertical or eventually go to consumer market.
If you chase those customers and land those customers, then it makes your job a lot easier when you're going in front of that community.
Entrepreneurs come in all walks of life, some even with funky green hair. These Cubic cubes offer huge potential use in a small package. Coming up, we meet another exciting new venture.